Well, hello everyone and welcome back to Yorkshire, where I am here once again managing this site that I've been managing for the last 11 years. And if you want to catch up on any of the previous content that I've created about this site, then go to the homepage, go to the playlist section and go on the Yorkshire Wildlife Reserve playlist, because it really is a fascinating site. And recently I was managing the meadow, which is behind me on the south facing hillside. I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one for you to go and have a look at. But I'm also doing a lot of other work here, and there's a lot of work to come in videos very soon, because at this time of year, it's a busy time of year. I'm trying to get all my sort of cutting back work, coppicing work, hedge laying, tree planting done before the end of March. It's now kind of the middle of January, so time's pressing on. And today's task is looking to restore part of this old orchard behind me that I've already restored in the past, but it's been let to go for a few years because the clients that were looking after it themselves have really struggled, so it's been difficult for them to stay on top of. And once the brambles get hold, as I'm sure many of you will probably know, it's very difficult to try and then manage. So I'm back here to try and get on top of this situation, to try and clear some of this vegetation and get back to see literally the wood for the trees, because there's some really lovely relic trees in this bit of orchard. There's some lovely old gnarled twisted bits of deadwood which are used by tree creepers, nuthatches and many other birds as well, woodpeckers. And it's a really great habitat, lots of standing deadwood, something that is really declining as a habitat in the wider countryside here in the UK because we are being too tidy. More on that in another video to come. So today's task is to try and manage this orchard to get it back to a manageable state, and then in another video, which I'll be explaining later on in this video, I'm going to be looking to plant more trees in here and do some other works to the boundary. So helmet on, gauntlets almost at the ready. I'm going to get cracking, dive into this bramble patch. Wish me luck. Now, as with any old orchard, particularly those in a wet environment like this one, there are a lot of possibilities of branches rotting, trees rotting and root structures failing if the tree becomes too laden with fruit in the summer. All that weight of the leaves and the fruit can often topple a tree. And of course they can just reach maturity and old age and then just steadily decline, which is such a great habitat. But unfortunately, it means that now and again, one or two do fail, like this one to my left, which you can see on the ground here. Now, before it failed, the clients planted a beautiful rose up the stem, and it trained up and it went beautifully over this dead timber, which looked absolutely stunning at the right time of year. But unfortunately, when the tree failed, the rose went over with it. So now I'm tasked with a slightly tricky challenge of trying to separate the bramble from the rose, distinguish the two initially, and then try to maintain the rose as a structure in itself, and then we can look to preserve it and maybe put in some kind of a structure to let it ramble back up it, because it is a rambling rose. So you can see some of the fresh regrowth here, and this has gone from basically a branch that has gone down, rooted itself back into the ground and then grown again as another specimen. So quite remarkable. But it means that I've now got to carefully work around this rose to try and maintain it and hopefully give it a bit more breathing room from the brambles. So I'm now going to get the loppers out and do a little bit of fine tuning around this rose so that we can maintain it and help it to bloom once again. Now at this point you're probably thinking, flippin' heck, this guy's got a vendetta against brambles, and you couldn't actually be further from the truth. And in a woodland setting, I actually think brambles, given the nectar that they produce in the flowers and the amount of insects that are attracted to them, are one of the best plants in a woodland setting for providing that midsummer nectar. And brambles actually play a vital role in providing protection and cover and an opportunity to nest for many of our bird species. So species such as our warblers, so blackcaps, chiffchaffs, willow warblers, whitethroats, many of these birds will almost nest on the ground in thickets of bramble that's really dense vegetation. When they get older like this and they're several years old, they can get quite sparse. The same with shrubs and trees. But when they're young and they're providing lots and lots of shoots really low down, it's really good cover, and it's almost impossible to find something like a chiffchaff or a willow warbler nest unless you almost tread on them, in which case they will often fly out of the nest. So it's a really good piece of cover for a lot of our ground nesting birds as well. And to add to that, it's obviously a great source of food in the autumn months. So when the flowers turn into berries, not only is it a delicious snack for us humans, it's also great for a lot of mammal species. Things like wood mice will absolutely make the most of this plentiful harvest that blackberries often produce in the UK, as well as the many bird species like our thrushes, for example, that will gorge on these berries at the right time of year. And in fact, there's actually over 200 species of blackberry in the UK, which I didn't learn till a few years ago. Absolutely incredible. But that explains why some of them have stems that are this thick and some that are nearly as thick as your wrist, of which these are almost the latter. So yes, it's a great source of food in the autumn as well. But obviously in a garden setting, they can become a bit unruly, like this lot has got to behind me, or was. So yes, it's a case of just managing them, and obviously they are very quick to establish. These things can grow 8 to 9 feet in a year. Sometimes you can see them just send off a shoot, if you like, a branch, a stem, and it can just travel along the ground, root as it goes, and that's exactly what it's done here. So there's a multitude of clumps of really thick stems that are popping up all through this bit of orchard behind me. So that's the worst of the brambles now cleared. I can now get the agri-mower through here, the machine I use for cutting my hay meadows on a normal job, and I'm going to run it through here just to go over all the rest of the vegetation, to get it all cut, all to an even keel, and then we can talk about how we're going to manage it moving forward. So time for a quick bite to eat, and then on with the cutting before I start the unenviable job of trying to rake it all up. Stay tuned. Well, as any machine operator will know, anyone in the landscape sector, the agricultural sector, in fact anybody that uses any kind of mechanical aid to complete their work will know that there's nothing worse than a breakdown. And unfortunately, after just having cut this first half of the meadow, with daylight dwindling, the rain setting in, I've sheared a bolt somewhere in the meadow, and it's to that piece there, which means that my whole of the top section of the machine is now pivoting on this rear nut and bolt, which is obviously not ideal and not good for the machine if I carry on using it. So time to make a short stop and nip down to the local agricultural merchants to see if I can find the right size bolt and nut so we can get this show back on the road. Stay tuned. Right, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood and all that, that's the machine back in action. Downtime approximately 27 minutes, including going to the shop, so not too bad. Right, daylight's fading, I better crack on, get this last bit cut, then I can start raking it up. Now, some of you may be thinking at this point, what are you doing with all the waste, Joel, all the arisings from all this cutting? Well, I'm actually making some habitat heaps like this one behind me here. I've got another one over there and another one on the boundary to the south facing hillside, the meadow area. So these are going to be great habitats for things like slow worms, potentially grass snakes. We've got any kind of reptiles, amphibians, so common lizards, toads, frogs, newts. These are all going to use these piles of vegetation in the winter months for cover. Potentially, if there are grass snakes in the area, of which I'm not 100% sure there are, but if they are here, they will use the grass heaps as well for laying their eggs into to incubate them. So great to have some habitat heaps. I'll always advise having some of these brash piles and grass cutting piles in your garden if you can, if you've got the space, because it's such a good habitat. And as well, if you put some sort of branches at the bottom to make it slightly more airy and a little bit of an entrance in one of the sides, who knows, you might even get a hedgehog or two going in there in the winter time as a little natural hibernaculum. So that's what I'm doing with the vegetation, which is a bit laborious, lugging it up and down with a hay fork on a bit of a slope. It's a good workout. Now it's on to this side. I've got the last section just to go through with the cutter, and that's just going to take all the tops off everything I didn't get with the hedge cutter yesterday. Then I can rake everything off and we can wrap this job up. Stay tuned. Well, there you have it. One times orchard restored to its former glory. Well, not quite yet. There's still a bit of work to do, but it's getting there, and at least we can physically see the wood for the trees now. The brambles have been cleared back, as you can see, and for those of you that are thinking I've just raised this whole thing to the ground without any consideration of any other living form of wildlife that might be using some of these longer grassy areas, fear ye not, because over here you can see there are still plenty of areas that are left. I've left margins, there's scrubby habitat, there's longer bits of grass down here, there's all sorts of grass patches and habitat through there. There's sections that I've left up on that side of the orchard. So trust me, there is lots of habitat still here for a lot of the invertebrates that will be using these clumps of grasses to overwinter as larvae, things like the ringlet butterfly, meadow brown butterfly, lots of moths obviously. So yes, there's plenty of habitat still here. So it's now down to the client. They're under strict instructions to keep this area mown throughout this year to try and combat the brambles that will inevitably want to grow back, along with a lot of the willow herb, which has its uses. But obviously in an area like this, when they're trying to improve floral diversity, willow herb can become a bit invasive. Yes, it is the larval food plant for the elephant hawk moth, but there are other patches around this 2-acre plot, so it's not like we're going to completely decimate all of it. It's just a case of managing it to try and get it back to a bit more grassland that it used to be, and a lot more floral diversity, which is what it used to have. And there are elements and remnants of those wildflowers here. I found some, there's some St. John's wort in here, there's some red campion, there's meadow sweet over in that direction. So yes, the stuff here, it's just a case of trying to help it, giving it lots of light, opening up all this ground area. Now you can see this dark patch where the main bramble patch was. There's so much light going to get into there, which means a lot of the seed bank can then start to germinate and come back. And with that constant mowing That's a very good way. And if you take nothing else from this video, mowing regularly over a patch of brambles is a good way to get rid of them. Obviously, I do not advocate the use of chemicals. It's just, yeah, against my religion. But if you can continue to mow an area, that will definitely help. Same with nettles. If you're trying to get rid of them, again, nettles have their benefits for a lot of our veneted butterflies, but appreciate they're not always right plant in the right place. That's what we all try and aim for as gardeners. Doesn't always work, of course, and nature wants to do its own thing at the best of times, and most of the time actually. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Stick around and do subscribe, because I'm going to be bringing you more videos from this place. And as I said at the beginning of this video, check out the Yorkshire Wildlife Reserve playlist, because I'm going to be doing a lot more work here. And down here there's going to be a really cool project coming up when I come back in a few weeks time, so stay tuned for that one. Hint, it involves some water. So those of you that have been following me for a while, you might have an idea as to what that might mean. I'm also coming back to a really cool job. I'm actually laying this hedge along here. It's got very tall, very scraggly, so I'm going to be laying that hedge, looking to reinstate the boundary, and actually planting a lot more fruit trees and other trees that are beneficial for wildlife, as well as planting 17 or 18 meters of hedgerow here to try and combat some of the wind when this hedge goes down. More of that in the next video. So I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you've learned something. I hope you've learned about how I create some of these areas, how I manage some of these areas, and I hope it's given you some inspiration to go and do your bit for wildlife in your own garden, because no garden is too small to help wildlife. Even if you've just got a balcony, you can plant some pots for pollinators. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, share it far and wide, and thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next one. Stay wild, stay tuned. I'll see you all very soon.